Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about pruning for better variegation. So here we have a Burle Marx Variegata. And the awesome thing with Burle Marx is that it grows super fast and it has great colors of variegation. But the downside is that sometimes it goes all green or all yellow, white, fully variegated. For instance, on this branch here, we have mostly green leaves with a little bit of variegation down here at the bottom. And obviously, we want to create more variegated parts of the plant. Just like in Monstera albo, it's all about the stem and the stem coloring where that shoot is coming out of. And I already realized I said it wrong. It's Burle Marx or Burle Marx, which is a Brazilian landscape architect. Someone's gonna say about that. Sorry to burst the bubble of the person that was about to comment that and correct me. The great thing about Burle Marx Philodendron is that it has a bunch of branching points. So that's a bunch of opportunities to change the variegation on your plant. And really, you can have multiple different plants in the same pot. A few of my mothers are just multiple, 2, 3 different plants planted all within the same leca pot. And whenever I get a cluster of green leaves, I trim that back and try and cut the stem so that it forces a new type and a new style of variegation. So let's do this together. We're gonna separate just this branch of this plant. On the top of it here, we're gonna look for the variegated leaves. So we have all green leaves at the top, but here we have a little bit of variegation, and down here we also have variegation. So what we do is take this variegated leaf and run it back up to the stem, trace it back to the stem, and that's the location in which variegation exists. All of this new growth doesn't have variegation. So I can simply trim back the all green parts of the plant, and again, isolate the branch which has the variegation, there's my variegated leaf, and cut down to that point. So here is my variegated leaf, it connects to the stem here, so I'm gonna cut just above it, right there, so that all that's left here on this branch, which will have, you see all the shoots there, we have a variegated leaf, and ideally what comes out of the side of that stem, because this stem has variegation, is a variegated shoot, which will create a lot more variegated leaves. Isolating this branch, we have a big green section here with a small amount of variegation actually in this back leaf. So we're gonna cut everything up until that point, everything above that point off. This one is all green, so it's actually just below this leaf. So this is an interesting situation. So I would likely take this cut off as a cutting because I know it has some variegation in it and it has an adventitious root as well as a shoot. So this potentially could have variegation, but it's gonna be like a 50-50 chance. But these next two leaves, these next two top leaves don't have any variegation, so I'm gonna cut this entire branch off, leaving me only with this variegated leaf and the shoot and node that's directly below that. Because with Philodendron and Monstera, the assumption is where that leaf came out of at the stem, that exact side of the stem has variegation within it, and a good blend of variegation, which we want to see on this leaf. And in all variegated plants, you want to have part green and part variegation. And that ideally creates leaves that look like this. On Burle Marx, it is pretty cool. You can see the striping through the stem like the Monstera, but just like the Monstera, you need that leaf to come out of the right blend on that stem so it doesn't take all green or all yellow variegation. But this is a really good branch of variegated leaves. But whenever I find a cluster of green leaves, I always trace back to the stem, where is that coming from? And if it's a new growth point with a lot of green leaves, I'll typically cut that back to tell the plant, stop growing this type of leaf and go back, regenerate down to a lower node which has better variegation. So for instance, this cluster of all green leaves right here, I don't see any variegated leaves on it, so I'll simply just cut it down at the bottom, just like you would a bush, because it grows so fast. This is a new plant, but it will not have variegation. And down here, ideally, it regenerates out of the stem where it did have variegation at one point. If you guys enjoyed today's video, would you please do me a favor and like the video down below and consider subscribing since we put out 2 videos a week, every week, about rare houseplants. And we usually drop them on Fridays and Saturdays or Saturdays and Sundays, but always Saturdays. So thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Have a great day.